Matthew chapter 17. This centers on that we must see the glory of Christ. You know, Matthew 17 speaks to really this moment of what we call the transfiguration, when Jesus is with John and Peter and James, and all of a sudden we recognize that Elijah and Moses show up. And it is at that moment that these disciples begin to ask if they should raise a place of worship to Moses and to Elijah, since they have appeared. Let's not think too harsh on these guys, because I think if we think about our lives and about people who have influenced our lives, that sometimes if we are not cautious, we can begin to worship people instead of worshiping the one whom they serve. And so I think here in Matthew 17, we are reminded that our focus, the glory that we give, must be to Jesus. I think this reminds us that we must never lower Christ to the level of great individuals. Christ is God. He is holy. He is perfect. He is worthy of all of our praise. And we must never lower him to the status of great people we know. At the same time, we must never elevate great men and women of God to the place to equality with Jesus. We must recognize and make sure that we never worship the person instead of worshiping the Lord. And I think when we think throughout history, think throughout time, we need to make sure that we recognize and see how this has occurred in the past. And maybe it's a struggle that we struggle with to elevate people too high. I think the other truth we need to see is that we have to see the glory of Christ and give him glory alone. He alone is worthy of our praise. He alone is the one who must be celebrated. I bet in that moment, as the disciples witnessed, they would have noticed that Elijah and Moses fell in the presence of God, that they worshiped Jesus because he was God. And the reality is that you and I can celebrate what God is doing. We give him honor. We give him worship, even when he's working through the lives of other people. You know, I want you to think about your life for a minute. And I just want you to ask the question, is there any moment when I am lowering Jesus to the status of others, of when I'm elevating others to the status of Jesus? And am I truly seeing the glory of Christ and giving him all praise? We'll see you tomorrow for Matthew 18.